Now this is Hollywood Unlocked. What up, everybody? It's Hollywood Unlocked Uncensored. I'm Jason Lee.
Yo, it's DJ Damage. Let's get this show started.
All right, Melissa Ford is still not back, but she'll be returning soon, and we
We
hope
love you, Melissa.
that she's doing well. It's been a crazy time, man, and having Amanda Seales on the show, followed by Auntie Maxine. I know a lot of our supporters out there are loving the content. We love that you've been receiving it well. We're going to leave the text number up so you can reach out to us. All you got to do is text show to the number below, and we'll make sure to keep you in the loop. Also, before we get into everything, make sure that you're subscribed to us on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, iHeart, and watching us on YouTube. And yeah, man, it's been a weird time. You know, like I said, we had Amanda Seales here, and I know I told her in the show that I was going to steal her line, eruption of consciousness, and I already have.
It's happening.
But she was right. I really feel like there's an eruption of consciousness happening with everybody, right? How have you been processing everything?
I love it, man. I feel like it's the perfect storm. We're all stuck in the house. You know, you've already months ago watched all the Netflix shows you can watch, Hulu, all that, and you're forced to really digest what's happening in our world today. I feel like we've been so distracted for so long, and I feel like it's just the perfect storm. We're quarantined, us being in the house for so long, and then you have a protest, and you can be outside with people and for a cause. So it's just like, it's really dope. It's definitely been an eruption of consciousness. And for me, like, I came up this way. I came up pro-Black. I came up going to Islamic schools, and I came up learning, African-American history, but not the average person. So I love when I have these conversations with my friends where they want to dig deeper and understand more about themselves. So it's been dope. It's been really a good experience.
Yeah, it has been an eruption of consciousness. I would say for me, I grew up believing that I was pro-Black too because I'm always involved in Black issues.
Mm-hmm.
I'm proud to be Black. I'm always telling people how proud I am to be Black.
Black.
I created the Black Brand Matters stuff, the merch to really put out there that we're more than a hashtag. I talk about Black publicists, white publicists for Black artists who don't show support to the media, and I've done what I thought was a good job of really helping to amplify, all of our issues that exist. But I do want to start my part of the conversation by saying to, the Black women who follow Hollywood Unlocked and Hollywood Unlocked Uncensored, who have felt that, I've been very dismissive to, your claims of me being a colorist or, highlighting how the Kardashians are dope or this and that. I've had a lot of time for self-reflection. And I can say that, my intentions have always been pure. Like I always approach these conversations from a position of having fun, of not giving a fuck, of believing that, because I do have the privilege of knowing the Kardashians and the privilege and honor of being Black, that I really feel like I see the world as a very neutral place. I try to come to life as a person that's biracial who sees we shouldn't see color. And I think in many ways, when Black women have said, we don't like how you uplift the Kardashians who don't represent our culture well, or that basically steal from our culture, or that you are quick to dismiss us when we claim colorism, I think I could have done a better job of inviting the conversation to a place where I could try to see where they were coming from. And if I didn't, instead of dismissing it, try to understand where it was, I think the George Floyd situation has forced us all to look at ourselves, and how we could be a part of the problem. You could be pro-Black, but still not necessarily be right on point when it comes to your issues, and how you discuss them. So I've been on a really interesting journey of wanting to look at how I could be very verbal and involved and go beyond a hashtag or a caption on Instagram and really help to move the conversation.
But I think that's amazing about us having this platform where people can watch us grow in our opinions and what we do in our personal life, because we are very open. And yeah, there probably was some criticism then, but for you to have this platform and it continue, and these people to continue to support it and watch you evolve, and not say evolve like you weren't always pro-Black and for Black women, but to sit there and understand and call attention to it, that's the beauty of Hollywood Unlocked.
But and I appreciate that. I used to say, I don't have to always talk about being pro-Black to prove that I'm pro-Black.
Mm-hmm.
But then I thought about it. To not talk about it is a problem because
Mm-hmm.
there are people that don't want to hear it. There are people who follow me who subscribe to our mini channels or our show or this or that, and that are in their cars or their homes around the country on our weekend show, who are online watching right now, who are listening to the podcast at work, who feel invisible, who feel
Mm-hmm.
like they have no voice. And to not continually represent that, it is an indication or an indictment on, not being as woke as I thought I was.
Mm-hmm.
I know that people don't want to hear me talk about how proud I am all the time. And then I think in my mind feel like if I talk about it too much, then it's not authentic. If I say
Mm-hmm.
I like a Dominican, that doesn't mean I don't like a black man. Um, and I think that it's something that has caused me to have a lot of thought. I know that people that have followed this show, Damage, before you got here, we were purely reckless, right? Purely, the things that we've done, and that's been great. But I also understand the time now for having a show where you can have a balance of responsible conversation, where you can have some recklessness, but you know we have graduated, and I have to own that. For a long time I've played into the guy that people I thought want me to be. They want me to be
But I
this,
think we
you
all
know
played into that. I feel like that's what entertainment is. And now we're all seeing that we can be authentic in our message and what we want to deliver. Because
yeah.
before, it's like, oh, I don't want to just cater to this so they can just think this is just a black platform, because we all aspire to touch and communicate with everybody. But now, what I think what's going on recently, it's like, I don't mind y'all considering this a black platform, because we are black and we are proud. And us being black doesn't change the messaging for everyone to digest, because at the end of the day, a lot of these things that people subscribe to is black culture anyway. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? So it is an interesting conversation, but I've dealt with this, being in radio and being in media for a long time. It's kind of what the story was up until now.
And don't get me wrong, I'm gonna always be the wild card, right? I have a very vivid imagination. I have My thoughts are just they're out there. I get it. And I have opinions, and I'm going to always voice them. And so I'm not asking people at all to like always agree with me, but I am asking people to allow us all room and space to grow.
We got
Like
to grow.
like understand that like you coming on this show has been a breath of fresh air, because it really does bring true what my idea for Hollywood Unlocked is. Before, we used to produce the show with no rails, but people don't understand behind the scenes of the show, our monetization is dropped significantly so we can deliver that reckless show. But the show has to make money to survive, right?
Mm-hmm.
The show has to be uncensored so that way it's a platform where people can have honest dialogue. But do we need to talk about penises and all that all the time? Maybe not. Maybe we have to we have to be a little bit more authentic. I do. And I feel like our audience has been amazing to grow with us through all the challenges. I just really feel like George Floyd's death has to have impact beyond police brutality. It has to have impact on how we show up, how we use our platforms, how we spend our
Mm-hmm.
money, how we elect people who have
Period.
our views and our best interests, and how we involve other people who are not black in the conversation as a part of the solution. So
Absolutely.
anyway, that was on my heart to share. I was really emotional the other day. I was on the balcony on the treadmill, walking, doing my thing, and I just got really emotional when I was thinking that there are people who don't like people just because the color of their skin. The thing
Period.
they can't change it. And I think about all the people who don't have our relationships, don't have our platform, feel like they don't have a voice, who feel helpless. And here we are with all the relationships in the world, and maybe may not have been as involved as we should be. So it's been
Mm-hmm.
good to see like you out there, me out there, my team out there, and just everybody that around the country and the world who are have joined in on saying that like we're not fucking with racism no more.
Period.
All right, I have one more update, so please bear with me. I want to give a shout out to Delta College. It was the
Come
college
on.
that I went to right when I took my GED. I left high school and I went to college. I took a lot of great courses, and then
Mm-hmm.
I ended up dropping out because I just didn't do well in the school setting. But I went back and I spoke at Delta College when I launched my book. and then they then invited me to come and speak at their graduation ceremony this year for the
All
class of
right.
2020 and all of the Black graduates. And they gave me a honorary degree and a certificate of recognition in journalism. And
Let
so
me find out.
I just want to say thank you so much for that. That's been, getting a degree has been one of my goals. And then now, they're talking about different other degrees. I'm like, hey, keep them rolling until we get that doctor behind my name or in front of my name. So that way, when I come to the show, they can say, how are you doing, Dr. Lee?
Dr. Lee and Dr. Muhammad. I like it. I like the
Yeah,
roundup. I can
exactly.
get mines too, JC. I might get called in to get a doctorate something
I mean,
somewhere.
what you're doing with
Maybe.
your marketing and all of your classes, you're already a professor.
Okay. Talk to him.
We
Let them know, JC.
Professor Damage.
Professor Damage. I like that. It sounds like I'm a X-Men or something.
Yeah, but shout out to the class of 2020, man, and
Yes.
congratulations to all of
Congratulations,
you
everybody.
passing through.
And
What have,
congratulations to you, Jason. That's big.
Thank you, thank you. Oh, I even wore the little hat. I mean, it fucked up my line a little bit. I was like, yo, this is like a lot of maintenance. There's no chin strap, so it's like kind of just sitting there. My head's kind of big. I'm like, this is
Kind of
not.
like a yarmulke, like on the side. You just kind of had it like,
I don't want to piss off the Jews. That's the Jews, right?
yeah.
Okay, yeah. Sorry, Jews. I'm not like we just were inspirational 5 minutes ago. I promise you the show will still be reckless. I love Jews. All right. What have you been doing? I know you've been out and about. You've been taking really dope photos from the protests too, by the way.
Yeah, man. So been out and about, man. Salute to everybody that's out there protesting. What I like about the protest recently is because when it first started, it was like a little protest over here, a little protest over there. Some people doing a moment of silence, some people screaming Black Lives Matter. It was kind of unorganized, but it needed to be that way. But right now, this past Sunday, watching that protest that happened on Hollywood Boulevard, that was insane.
Is that the
It
one
looked
with
like it was
YG?
like 20,000 people out there.
Is that where YG showed up?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
they're
was
saying like 50,000.
it had to be. That was incredible. And I'm loving when I see the protests because we talked to Maxine, Auntie Maxine,
Okay,
about
man,
it.
put
And
some
she was like,
respect on that name.
I had to put some respect on it. She was saying back when they did the riots in 92 that they were protesting and rioting kind of through their own neighborhoods. And it was good to see us shut down Hollywood Boulevard, like a landmark in the world, and really show people that Black lives do matter. And I feel like it was a global thing that happened in LA, and I was just so proud to be a part of that, to be in this city when that happened. I rep the East Coast, but to be out here doing something so massive like that, it really feels like a part of history. So salute to everybody out there protesting. But I've been with you trying to use our platform to make a difference. Of course, there's protests and signing petitions, and I've done both. But I want to really sit there and have these conversations with you and do whatever we can do on our platform to bring awareness to what's going on today.
And I want to say to everybody too, a couple people called me a hypocrite because when it first happened, I went on my Instagram and I said, burn this bitch down, bring America to her knees, because that's the only way you get change is when you really burn it down
Mm-hmm.
and then build it back up. Show people that like you're not going to just go out and march and talk. You're going to actually do something. You're going to stay on their ass until something changes, right? And I've been really proud to see that like the people of this generation, the Gen Zers who are like, and the millennials who are out there saying we're not going to stop until we have real reform. I also feel like
Mm-hmm.
some of the marching and the messaging was all over the place. So I did reach out to Sean King. I did reach out to Tamika Mallory. I did reach out to different people who are in the cause and using our platforms to keep the messaging current and the
Yeah.
news out there. But I will say this: I was never a supporter of looting because the looting became a different narrative that gave the media a pathway to changing course of what we were fighting for. And so while the mainstream media kept talking about it as looting and destroying property, I kept the issues live on Hollywood Unlocked. And I would say to the people that, yeah, I definitely believe you got to burn shit down to build it up. I definitely don't care about AutoZone or Target because they have insurance. I don't care about none of the businesses that aren't Black owned businesses because they have insurance and they were probably shut down during COVID and probably going to benefit from the insurance anyway. But
Major.
now that the funerals are over, now that the looting has stopped, now there has to be the continued pressure for real change. And I have to say, Roger Goodell from the NFL, because we've been talking to Colin Kaepernick too.
Mm-hmm.
I've been texting Colin. I've been talking to his people, saying, "Hey, we want to be involved. We want to support you." And my understanding in talking to them is that before Roger Goodell made the statement and after that, Colin is working out every day in case the phone rings. And I would say that real change in the NFL and putting your money where your mouth you have to go beyond a Facebook post, you or an Instagram post. You give him a job. If we saw Colin walking on the field and we saw the entire players on the field and coaches kneel when he walks on the field, that would be the change that I'd be like, okay, I'm with that shit. But we still got to keep going, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I You know what? And I feel like, and I could be wrong, isn't it open now where Colin can have a job?
He
Is it
can.
on now? Now it's not on Roger at this point. It's on the owners of each individual team who wants him to work out, right?
Yeah, it's not on Roger, but Roger is the commissioner. If he sends an email
Absolutely.
out to all the 32 owners and says that he strongly encourages that they take the spirit of his message and give him an opportunity, then I think, and the public knows that, people and players will start looking at their teams differently. I thought, you know, and there's another pandemic going on amongst this whole movement, and that's the house nigga culture.
Mm.
That's the black people in organizations, or whether it's sports or Beats by Dre or a label or Spotify, that think that they're real culture icons. But if you're at a table and you can't make these white people spend money with black businesses, if you're not at the table with Netflix and saying you're going to promote Madam CJ Walker on Hollywood Unlocked, Shade Room, Baller Alert, Vibe, Jasmine Brand, if you're not forcing them to invest in the culture, you are a part of the problem. And
But
that's
the thing is that's what they do, Jason, and that's why I feel like you was empowered to create your own platform because they'll give you a seat. That don't mean they're going to give you leverage.
right.
You know what I'm saying? They'll show you hope. That's what they call it. Like, oh, you could one day be in that seat, but you're in that seat and you do what? You just sit there and you can spin around in your little chair because they're not going to give you the power to do that.
But
And
the
I
thing,
do feel like a lot of those people in those positions do want to do something like that, but they have no power, and it makes you look crazy from the outside looking in.
but here's the deal, and this is what this. I'm so glad you said that. This is where we have to stop with the perception that we do not have the power, right?
Mm-hmm.
When Justin Bieber says, I benefited from the culture and I need to do more, blah, blah, blah. I still have the video of when you called black people niggers. Are you
Yeah, that
at
was
the
sick.
marches? Are people making you march, Justin? Do you really care? No, you don't care. But the thing about it is we have the power. I'm gonna share with you privately a conversation I had today that by now is gonna be public, right?
Mm-hmm.
So before, everybody that's been watching this show from day one, anybody who's been watching me from the first time you saw me throw a drink on Love and Hip Hop, you definitely know my aspirations has been to get my own talk show. You saw me on Wendy, you saw me on Dish Nation, you saw me on The Real, Steve Harvey. You've seen it. You've seen the work. You've seen this radio show grow into a national show. You've seen it. I've built a really substantial following on social media, on YouTube. I've been on BET. I'm on Viacom right now on VH1 and MTV on two
Talk about
shows.
it.
I've put in 4 seasons at Wild 'N Out, 3 seasons at Love and
Talk
Hip
about
Hop.
the resume, Jason. Give them the resume.
I'm just saying, like, I've had so much accomplishment in my brand that when last year I did a TV deal for two things. One, to create a nationally syndicated talk show like Wendy Williams,
Mm-hmm.
and then one to develop any show I want with anybody I want that the market is looking to buy. So that means if Cardi B wanted to do a TV show, I could produce that show with my partners at Big Fish, and I can take that out and sell it. Right? I got signed to ICM, biggest agents, one of the biggest agencies, top 3 in the industry. I did everything that you're supposed to do to have value. Right?
But
People,
Jason, they
hold on,
don't they don't want to.
there's not enough black people at the seats in the seats at the tables that matter anywhere in this industry. We did a whole blackout on Tuesday. But what labels are putting money? You know, the only label calling me right now is Warner Music because they're trying to figure out how to spend this $100 million, and they've asked me to help give them advice. But
Yeah,
but where's everybody else?
nowhere. We need more black executives. We need more. It's so much that we need. But the thing is, Jason, People aren't looking to partner, they're looking for employees. So even if they was to give you this opportunity, they don't want you to be in a position where they have to work with you. They want to say what it is, and you go, okay, yeah, I'll work with that, and yeah, what you say makes sense. You're not that kind of person, Jason. If you have a vision,
That's not always true, because look at our relationship with iHeart. We are their partner, right? The partnership may not always be perfect, but we're
Mhm.
partners. We're not employees. So I do believe we can make changes, but it goes back to having the courage and the backbone to say, I'm willing to lose it all in order to stand for something. I may
Yeah,
not get it, but the next person that comes might get it, and that's okay.
absolutely.
That's okay. And I just would say to anybody, wherever you are, if you are in a place of employment or a partnership where you cannot ask your partners why they don't see value in you, and you're coming from a genuine, authentic place where you simply want the answer, so maybe you say, hey, Jason, maybe when you get to 3 million followers, where's the line for black people damage? The line keeps getting pushed back.
Always.
The line keeps becoming invisible, whether you're light or dark. And it's the same for women, and it's the same for gay people. And I'm over it.
Mhm.
And that's why I own my platform, and I can say whatever the fuck I want anytime I want.
And the crazy thing is, these jobs that you talk about, or these platforms, benefit and make money from our culture. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's the whole kicker at it. It's like, why am I not qualified? Why don't you see value, but you make money from my culture?
But
You don't know anything about my culture, but you continue to make money from it, and you don't want to put anybody in the position of the culture to make content, to create ideas for our culture. So
but
it's
that
insane.
the damage. That's where you just said it. We have to stop waiting as people of color for them to create executive jobs and
For us.
go create. If you can't find the investment money, put in the hard work of building partnerships with people to elevate it, and then go from there, right? I feel like, yeah, even if you do have black executives, you could have a room full of black people at Apple.
Yeah.
They can have a room full of black people at Beats who really believe they are the culture because they got invited to the Rock Nation brunch. No, until you own it. Ownership is when you are really showing that, like, did you put your money in the black bank? Are you going to get loans to build your own shit? You started Legendary Media Group. You didn't go and
Mhm.
you didn't wait for Gary Vee to invest in you. You didn't wait for Joe Rogan to invite you on his platform. You didn't ask me to partner with you. You did it on your own. You own it. You're making your money from it. Whether you make 5,000, 50,000, or 5 million, you own it all. You control it all. And you can say, I'm proud of myself because I created something from an idea. I executed it. I'm going to keep refining it. It's going to keep getting better and bigger. And you know what? Eventually, somebody's going to look at it and go, I want to be a part of that. And then you're going to say, do I want to sell it and work for them, or do I want to
Mhm.
partner and own and control it? That's what I did. And that's what more people need to do. You need to own your
And I
shit.
and that's what we have to make cool. That process, Jason. I don't think that process is really known, and it's not made cool in our community. People have to see that you have to have a plan, you have to execute and see it through. You know, we're so used to being a part of other people's plans. Rather, if you coming up in the hood and you want to play basketball, you're following somebody else's plan. You follow the coach's plan. This is the rule for this. We're not to condition to creating and having our own ideas and seeing them through and execute and putting in the hard work. Like, we need to make that cool. We need to talk about that more.
When on this show, I've gotten criticized. Oh, he says Floyd Mayweather's name so much. And I'm going to tell you why. Because when you have somebody show up that has it all and says, I believe in you and I'm going to
Mhm.
support you and I'm going to guide you and I'm going to give you the financial support for your little podcast. He didn't say little, but I'm going to support my little podcast. I'm going to support that so you can grow it because you're going to be huge. He told me this from the beginning, and he planted that seed in me when I would call him and be excited that, oh, Will Packer wants to meet with me about my show, and I'd be all excited. He'd be looking at me like, so what? You're Jason Lee. You're excited about Will Packer, but you're Jason Lee. You are who they want to work with. You don't need
Yeah.
to be worried about them. Keep worried about you. And I didn't see it. And then Will Packer didn't do the deal with me after he got all my information. He went and built his own Central Ave show. It's not good, but he went and built his own thing, right? And I felt disappointed. But my point is that I didn't get defeated and quit.
No, you
I
didn't.
listened to what Floyd said, and you know what he said the most, though? He said to me, he said, the best thing about you is that you own all your shit, so you can say whatever you want, and you're not obligated to be anything but whatever you want to be. And now I'm not at all. I felt good coming out of that conversation today, telling them, like, I want to look in the eyes of the president and vice president of Viacom, with no fear and just say, why am I not successful enough for a seat at the table? That's all I want to know. And we should all have the courage to ask that. And to the house niggas who are sitting at these brands or these labels and thinking you're moving the culture because you go out to parties and you move the Ciroc around, they pay you to take liquor into clubs to make it look like you're driving the brand when really you're an employee. Go back and figure out how to study their infrastructure to build your own brand.
And a lot do. And a lot of people do.
What black-owned alcohol do we have?
We have Douce.
Does he own 100%? No.
Well, you would know better. You more well-versed in the ownership numbers.
No. Does Puffy Ciroc deal is 50% of United States sales? Okay, but that's a great percent on the equity. I mean, on the monetary. But does he own equity? I don't know. You know what I mean? Does he own 100%? There's no 100% owned label. Is there a 100% owned label?
I'm sure there is, but not major label.
Okay, well, we're major. We're the fucking culture. We say what's hot. We say if you see us with this water, niggas is drowning on Essentia. If you see us on this phone, niggas is buying iPhone. We drive the culture. Why do we not own a majority of it? I own 195. I own 95% of my shit.
Mm-hmm. But I think we need to start making that cool. Like at the end of the day, and I'm starting to see this when we talked about in our last episode with Amanda, we got to make it cool to buy our own, promote our own. We're so quick to go to other coaches and people that own things and promote their shit. We're so quick to, let's hold this bottle, but we need to be holding our own. You have a friend that has a brand. We all do. That's working hard, a barbershop, anything, no matter how small. We need to use our influence to make our own shit cool. And I do feel like it's been an emergence of consciousness, and we're going to start doing that. I do believe this is going to start happening. Well, I see a lot of people starting to support each other, and I'm loving it. It's like it's a different vibe right now.
Yeah. Well, Hollywood Unlocked will be creating the Culture Report. That's a report that's going to come out once a week. It's going to have highlights of where people are circulating money in our culture. It's going to have highlights of where people aren't. It's going to have highlights of where people are moving up in the ranks of their companies and starting their own companies. And it's going to highlight people who are in positions of power and not using their power to help the Black Brand Matters movement or Black Lives Matter movement. So I'm excited about the Culture Report. I might as well go ahead and put a date on it. Let's say August 1st. I didn't know about that until right now, but I feel like it's important. And we're doing other things to add our part. Like I'm not just complaining. This is more of me just having dialogue around what's going to be driving a lot of the things that people see from me. And, Damage, I'm proud of everything that you've been doing. Melissa started her own podcast. You got your own thing. I got my own thing. We can still come together and work and support each other. We can still call each other when we need to. And
that's how it's supposed to be, though. Let's point out that's how it's supposed to be. We're all supposed to have our own thing that we're driving and owning and come together and keeping that money and that consciousness circulating. So if we can make that cool, if we could teach people to have their idea, execute, you know what I'm saying? Idea, plan, execute. Like everybody needs to understand that's how it works, because a lot of us in our culture, just people in general, think everything is going to be easy. It's not an easy road. Anything you want to accomplish is going to come with some hard work. Be prepared for the hard work, especially right now. Be prepared to work your fucking ass off. If you're not ready to step up like that, then support somebody that's working their ass off. Don't work against them. If you have a neighbor, a friend that started a business or does something and they're working their ass off and you see it, support them. It doesn't always have to be you being the CEO, because you have friends. There's people around you, even if you don't know them, you know when somebody's working their ass off. Stop letting them fight for your support. Let's equally support each other, for real.
And I will also say to people who are listening, right? Just really do a self-examination of where you stand in this fight. Are you in a company with influence and not using it right? Are you in a room shutting out other Black businesses or talking down on Black businesses because it's the comfortable conversation to have? Are you in a position to help, but you don't help unless you personally benefit from it? Those are questions you have to ask yourself. And if the uncomfortable answer is that you ain't shit, you have the power to change that. I don't care if you don't spend money with me, because I will shame you into spending money with me. I don't care if you don't bring me back on your network, because there's other networks that want to beat you anyway, and they will bring me to that network, and I will make sure that I talk about you every day. And if I don't get that network, I'll create my own show. By the way, I do have a show coming out on YouTube. It's fucking fire. And I can't wait to. Should we just drop the promo right here so people can see it?
Here it is.
All right.
Drum roll.
It's coming up anyway. So anyway, here's the intro. Go.
Sounds on the beat.
I just hopped up out the train, about to do another show. Cashing my checks in, then I do the woo. Either I'm fast or the city really slow, cause I'm passing them like, bro, let's go. Oh, they mad, huh? Oh, they mad, huh? The gag is I'm a shade anyway. But the gag is I'm a show out all day. And the gag is they gon' tune in anyway. These bitches could never. Let's go.
I'm excited.
Here it is.
All right. So, speaking of coons, your uncle's in the news. Your uncle.
Why is it my uncle?
We just had Amanda Seals here, and she called Terry Crews out, and he tweeted, "Defeating white supremacy without white people creates black supremacy. Equality is the truth. Like it or not, we are all in this together." And listen. Terry Crews,
Black supremacy.
Terry Crews has not been on the right side of a few things. We all know. Somebody said, "I understand Tyler. I was not saying black." This is what Terry said. He tweeted. Somebody said, "I understand Tyler. I was not saying black supremacy exists, because it doesn't. I am saying if both black and white people don't continue to work together, bad attitudes and resentments can create a dangerous self-righteousness. That's all." And then he went on to say, "Any black person who calls me a coon or an Uncle Tom for promoting equality is a black supremacist, because they have determined who's black and who's not." Okay, well, before anybody says anything, let me just say, you haven't always agreed with me on black issues, but get ready to call me a black supremacist, because I was on the Wendy Williams show and I said this.
Now, people slam Terry and say that he was a coon for selling out Gabrielle Union.
A what?
I didn't say that. That's what
I
the people
haven't heard
said.
that word since the 19 before I was born.
Oh, he was. Listen.
Now, I said I didn't call him a coon, but that's my way of calling him one without taking the blame. But no, that is coonish behavior, right?
Man, he's pulling the all lives matter shit. Why doesn't he understand that that's the same as all lives matter? It's common sense that we all want to work together. Is he missing the whole fucking point? And that's the sad part about celebrities sometimes. They live in this stupid fucking bubble where you're missing the whole point. What he's saying is the same argument as all lives matter. Yes, it's common sense, all lives matter. But right now, black people have been dealing with years and centuries of injustice, racial systemic racism. What the fuck are you talking about black supremacy? How is there black supremacy? We don't own shit. We don't control shit. What are you afraid of? We're not the people that you need to talk to about getting along with other people. That's all the fuck we do, because we're standing up for our rights. Now it's a black supremacist mindset. What the fuck is he talking about? It doesn't work like that. Yo, you know what? I know he's trying to come from a good place, Jason. I get it. I know he has white friends. I have white friends too. Bro, what you're saying makes no fucking sense.
And he was in the movie White Chick. So you got, he does.
I get it. I get it. He's missing the fucking point.
Let me say
black
this.
supremacist. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Let me say this. I've been called a lot of things. I guess now I'm a white supremacist, and you pissed damage off, so you know you did something wrong. Look, Amanda Seals, who was just on the show, she tweeted, "Anybody got a camera flash? Well, now we know why Terry Crews and threw Gabrielle Union under the bus. Always beware of coons in the mist. Coons are Negroes who choose white approval over black advancement." Ouch. So
that's what he's doing. It's like he's trying to have this safe talk on Twitter. Just shut the fuck up. Stop trying to have this safe talk. Bro, the fact that he called it black supremacy based on what, an attitude?
Right, but
white supremacy and racism is systemic. Yeah. It stops us from having opportunities. This has been going on for years. An attitude can't create black supremacy. White supremacy is not an attitude towards black people. It's systemic. How does he not realize that as an actor in the acting world where a lot of black people don't get jobs? How is he I'm sorry, he's just living in this fucking
Well,
bubble, and it's starting to get annoying.
maybe he will have an eruption of consciousness. I text Amanda and I said, hey, you just had your eruption of consciousness because I've been called a coon. And you know what? I stand by my words because, you know, it's been so great to see so many non-people of color in the streets who get it, right?
How they get it, but Terry Crews don't get it?
Well, because he's with the white chicks, you know, and hopefully he will get it. You know, somebody say he's married to a white man, talk about his wife. Y'all disrespectful. I'm not gonna do, I ain't gonna do her like that. But
and
I will,
you know what?
But wait, I will say this. I will say though, we just went through the whole thing at labels and in the culture and TV, right? Where are we supreme? We are supreme in being the culture that you steal from, that you rob, that you deny opportunity, that you don't invest in. And Terry, if you're in this conversation and you don't see why what you said was wrong, you need to come to talk to Damage. He can tell you what the fuck were you thinking?
It's the OJ Simpson way of thinking. You just feel like because you have an opportunity in this world and he's accomplished a lot, that he doesn't see the big problem. And that's really just a problem for me, that he doesn't see what's going on. Like, this is bigger than race and black people and white people. We're talking about humanity overall. And once again, you're trying to compare systemic racism to an attitude. White supremacy cannot be transferred into black supremacy. We are not supreme in owning or holding opportunities from anybody. So even thinking like that is fucking stupid. But of course he can think like that because he's working in an area where he's getting opportunities when a lot of other black people can't. He's probably like, well, you're just not working hard enough.
But just because, but what have we been talking about on the show? All of these celebrities, these black celebrities, not all of them, but a lot of them look for white media. Like, people don't listen to me. This is the other thing. Hold on. People, I realize that a lot of times when I say things, you don't listen to me because of how I say them. So I'm going to be very mindful of when I say something really important, that I say it in a way that you can listen. I have said Black brands matter. When Black media comes to your events, don't put them at the end of the carpets and pull them and walk your celebrities by them. I've said Black celebrities, stop hiring white publicists who seek out validation from white publications to justify you. Stop looking at the Hollywood Reporter when Hollywood Unlocked talks about George Floyd every day, every 15 minutes, and Hollywood Reporter only does one article. Stop. And it goes, and people don't listen to me. They say, oh, Jason's just being, when Jason attacked Meg, he don't like Meg Thee Stallion. No, I love Megan Thee Stallion, but I can be critical of Black celebrities who seek out white people's approval. That's coon type shit. And if I call it out and you don't get it, don't be mad at me. Look at your motherfucking self.
Nah, but shout out to Dr. Claude Anderson, because he's been preaching this shit for years. He was talking about back when we had our own things, Black folk was so hyped when we had our own bus system, we had our own business, to sit in the front of the white bus. And he was just talking about the mentality of Black people for a long time. Like, we always wanted to be a part of that other thing. But at the end of the day, we need to start doubling down and appreciate the things that we create. And it's the same thing with the media conversation. We have our own media outlets, but we want so bad to be a part of whatever the fuck white media that's going on. It's the same mentality when we have our own and we're not appreciating our own media. And our own media platforms control the narrative. We break the stories and they piggyback it and retweet it and make it all, I guess, glamified in their eyes. And we sit there and still don't understand that, and we'll go to the middleman and not go to the source.
Billy Porter follows me and Hollywood Unlocked. Billy Porter and I have been texting each other because Billy Porter's show post helped me to really empathize with the trans movement. T.S. Madison and Billy Porter show Pose. I love the show. I binge watched it like 2 days in my house, right? So me and him, I've been trying to get him on the show. And I like Billy. He's great. Breaking lots of barriers. So he wants to come on the show. So he had us reach out to his publicist, who happens to be from the publicity firm that I outed on The Breakfast Club, and they just denied our interview. I have to go back and say this. Whether Billy Porter comes on the show or not, Hollywood Unlocked will continue to flourish, but this is the important part of the whole thing we're talking about. Billy Porter belongs to us. Billy Porter is ours. He is me. He is Damage. He's a man. He's a gay man. not you're not gay, but you're a man. I'm
No,
gay.
I rock with Billy Porter. I like what he
No,
stands for, and he's a strong black man.
we're black. He is a trailblazer. He belongs
He
to
is.
us. And black celebrities have to stop allowing these white publicists to get in the way of their culture. But that goes back to us disallowing them to put the noose around the culture's neck. Now, I haven't talked to Billy yet. I'm going to. By now, I probably would have talked to him because I'm going to reach out to him. And it's not Billy's fault because Billy wants to do the show. It's the publicist's fault. It's the same problem with Lena Waithe, who has said, tell my publicist, let's do it, let's do it. But then they come back, because we've called them out. And I will keep calling them out. And if you don't bring your talent on, guess what? Eventually, they'll get drugged too. Because that's what it is. That's why Hollywood Unlocked exists.
And I feel like not after what's going on, but amongst everything that's going on, we will start getting these interviews because people are starting to wake up and understand. Like I said, there's no excuse for distractions anymore. We're hitting problems head on. And a lot of these people, y'all need to come and sit down in these seats and let's have some real conversations because that's what we have in Hollywood Unlocked.
We just had Maxine Watt. We have great interviews. That we ain't worried
Always.
about. We ain't worried about it's, but it's more of like, you can't be afraid of the platform because you're afraid of the conversation, because you go to the Breakfast Club. You go, you know what I mean? Like you do go, to some places, but I don't know if Billy Porter's ever been on Breakfast Club. He should have been, but why not come on Hollywood Online? Why not work with the other platforms? You all follow all of us. When I meet you, you know everything I've said or done and all the TV, you know it. So what's the problem? So anyhow, so we've been big on the whole Black Brands Matter movement, and today we have a CEO of a black business, and he's black too. His name is Malik Blade. He's the CEO of Whole Brother Mission, and he's here to talk to us today. So what up, Malik? Welcome to the show.
Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. And Malik, I see you repping DC. Tell us a little about yourself and the Whole Brother Mission.
Yeah, so I'm originally from Southeast Washington, D.C., but over my time, I've had the chance to live in North Carolina, Oklahoma, and Southern California as well. But pretty much the Whole Brother Mission is a nonprofit that offers men, with the focus on Black men, assisted access to counseling and therapy. Pretty much saw a need for that as different friendships over the years and situations I've seen. It's like therapy is needed because a lot of times men, we choose not to have places to be open, and it ends up hurting us in the end.
Absolutely. Why do you feel like Black men in particular have this problem opening up and sharing themselves?
Yeah, so I mean, I think there's a lot of factors that go into that, not just one, but I think one of the main ones is a lot of us are taught an idea of masculinity that I think is kind of fraudulent, really. It's this idea that we always have to be on 10 all the time, ready to fight, always strong, always the biggest and the baddest. And I think that's a fraudulent idea of masculinity because it focuses more on the outside than the inside. So when we have that model doesn't really leave room for processing through emotions, being open or vulnerable. And like I said, that ends up hurting us in the end. But it's I think it's something that we should change. And I talk about this in the book, but I think it goes back to how we're fathered, the model that we saw growing up on what manhood should be. And for many of us that don't have fathers, we end up learning indirectly or directly from people in the media, specifically hip hop, and then molding ourselves after that. And sometimes that's not the best look.
See, I just was live the other day. My cousin was on Instagram. I clicked him in, and I happened to be in bed just waking up, and he was in bed just waking up, and I was laying on my pillow, and he was laying on his pillow, and he said, "Oh, I'm on live with a whole nigga. I got to sit up. I can't be laying on my pillow." And somebody in the comments said, "Yo, your cousin has fragile masculinity." And I just thought that was an amazing comment because, like, you're my cousin. Like, why are you uncomfortable that you waking up and I'm waking up? We ain't lovers and we not trying to be lovers. But I think it goes to the point of, in our community that Black men, and I've said this on the Breakfast Club, I've said it different places, I think have a real fragile, their masculinity is real fragile. Not all, but a lot.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. I think it's fragile in a lot of cases. But I also think it's a misguided view because no one really would say I have fragile masculinity. They would say that, nah, I'm a strong man and this is the way that it's supposed to be. But I think ultimately Some call it toxic masculinity, but I also think it goes back to an insecurity. And as you mentioned, the whole situation with the lab, I think security and strength is knowing who you are and not necessarily having to bend and prove your manliness in every single moment. But if you know who you are, I think you can go into any setting and stand up in that.
Well, my masculinity has been a little fragile at times, but I'm a different, I come from a different place.
Now, I do want to ask,
Understood.
is your book just for men? Does it just focus in on the issues of the black man?
So it's titled "Whole Brother: Debunk the Myths That Break the Black Family," and I'm blessed. You know, in our opening weeks, we were able to be #1 in family health on Amazon.
Hey,
But the emphasis is on family.
okay.
Now it's whole brother because I think in part, as men take responsibility for their own wholeness, that ends up affecting the whole family. But I think that all of us play a part in that, and women have a part in this conversation as well. Because when we talk about ideas of toxic masculinity, I do think men kind of build that up and create that identity where you can't ever be weak or vulnerable or open. But also, I think women do that too. A lot of times, men take cues from women on how to be. So if a guy has to be a roughneck brute all the time, in many cases, that's because women have given off that that's the type of man that they want. So we both play a part in these emphases that we put on masculinity. So women are part of the conversation as well. And in addition to that, in the opening parts of the book, I talk about 4 different types of fathers. And one of them is actually a single mother as a father, which we see quite a bit, a single mother having to wear both hats. So women and men need to be a part of this conversation and should read.
And do you mind just quickly breaking down the other 3? Because I never had any kind of father, so I'm really interested
Yeah.
on the different kind of fathers.
Yeah. So there's the toxic father.
Okay.
There's the absentee father. There's the present but distant father. And then there's the single mother as a father. And just to kind of expound on them a little bit more, the absentee father is obviously the dad that's not there, not in the home. But the present but distant father is physically present in the home, but emotionally distant. And I know a lot of us, can deal with that. Dad was there, but he had like a wall up. And then the toxic father is a father who may be in or out, but he's passing on toxic thinking and behaviors to his children, having a negative influence rather than a positive influence. And as I mentioned, the single mother as a father is the mom that's having to wear both hats. And we know there's plenty of single black women who've done a bang up job raising their sons and or daughters. But at the same time, that puts undue pressure on them, I believe, that ends up having them lose themselves as they raise their children.
So you worked in a university and you've gone to college and you're pursuing your doctorate in counseling. We recently had Amanda Sills on the show, and I had asked her, where did her advocacy or activism come from? Was it more like life experience or education? Where do you arrive with all of this passion? Is it from having an absentee father or a toxic father or a non-present father, or is it your education and seeing that this was a focus that we needed to have as a black people?
It was a little bit of both experiences. So my dad, he's had a drug issue for most of his life. So I think him being absent wasn't necessarily a choice to be absent, but he just getting caught up with the drugs. He's not even stable in his own life, so he wasn't really able to be stable in mine, which I understand. So I had some of that experience. As far as friends growing up, I had quite a few friends who had their dads in the home, but they were the present but distant types. I mentioned in a book a friend who went to the NBA, which is great for him, but in our younger years, when he was in those camps and so on and so forth, preparing for that career, he told me that, yeah, my dad only talks to me when it's about basketball. We don't really talk about anything else. So I've seen this experience time and time again with peers. But then on top of that, when I worked in university life, I worked at a predominantly white school, but the black students that were there were the athletes, the basketball players and the football players. And I was a dean, so I had to deal with discipline. And time again, I would have brothers in my office, and the infraction was the infraction. But as we talked through it, there was a backstory on what happened in their household. And more often than not, there was one of the fathers that I list, one of those type of dynamics. And then also not having a place to be vulnerable and talk about issues that are going on in their heads. So unfortunately, in college, in the dean's office, is the first time they got a chance to open up about what was really going on.
So you have the nonprofit, you have the book, and you have a podcast that I've never been invited to. Damage is also a foster kid, or he's adopted. So tell us about the
and also a father.
Oh, and your
Yes,
father. Yeah.
absolutely.
But I think damage. I think that's why you've turned out to be a good father, because like we have choices, right? We have choices to continue the cycle or be different. And like me, I ain't got no kids because I just ain't ready for that. But you've turned out to be a good father. So the podcast, what are you doing over there? And yeah, what's that about?
Invite us on.
So the Whole Brother Mission podcast is pretty much an extension of the ideals that we're pushing through the Whole Brother Mission. This idea of the head, the heart, and the hands. So the Whole Brother Mission, we have three core areas. The head is mental health, the heart is emotional maturity, and the hands are professional advancement. And we believe that if men take the time to grow in these three areas, life won't be perfect, but it's a good basis to start with, specifically the mental health part and the emotional maturity part. And then once you focus on the inside, I think then you're prepared to think about things like entrepreneurship and higher education and finances. But let's focus on the inside first and then start dealing with the outside, which is professional advancement. And I will say, quite a few people involved with us follow the show, The Breakfast Club, and similar shows like that. And I appreciate, when you guys had your transition, one of the things that stood out to us was damage in your relationship with your son, and highlighting that was a huge thing because we want to push those kinds of images as well. Although we deal with the idea of fatherlessness, we also want to be realistic that there are several Black fathers that are in their sons' lives.
No, absolutely. I would love to come on the show, man, and talk about it. I had a question for you, man.
We can do that. Yeah, we can do that.
Now, your book is talking about debunking the myths. What are some other myths that plague the Black fathers and Black family in general?
Yeah. So another myth. So like I said in the beginning, it's the four types of fathers, and then from there on to the end is the different myths. And another one of the myths is this idea that manhood is a natural instinct. We assume that just because we're born biologically male, that I obviously know how to be a man, and that's not necessarily true. Having a penis doesn't necessarily mean that you know how to raise children, how to be a good husband, or how to even show up as a leader for those that embrace that ideology. So I think that it's important for us to realize that manhood must be taught from somewhere. And whether we believe it or not, we're learning from somebody. So even if you don't have a father or a mentor teaching you, as I mentioned before, a lot of us, I can speak to my generation, millennials, not Gen Z, that we grew up, and honestly, for a lot of Black men, the idea of how to be a man, how to deal with women, and how to show up in your place of work, in many cases, comes from hip hop. And while there are some good images to model yourself after, there are several bad ones. So what's done to create capital and sell albums may work in that setting, but when you try to mimic what you see in music videos in your day-to-day life, that may not be the best dynamic for your household.
Yeah, and I feel like that's systemic too, but that's a whole nother conversation where I feel like on the streets, the police are taking our fathers away, whether they're killing them or it's drugs or going into jail. And then behind the scenes, you got these companies promoting this image of the Black man, knowing kids at home don't have that father figure, and they're promoting this super aggressive, super parody of the hood. It just feels all like a system to me. So I'm glad you kind of brought that up for real.
Definitely.
So now, as a Black man living in DC, just off topic, and you now have the 1600 Black Lives Matter Plaza right there in front of the White House, and the world's most tyrannical occupant at the White House, Donald Trump. How does that feel in DC? Is that a big thing? I mean, your mayor I thought it was a pretty symbolic step to lifting our voice.
Yeah. So it's funny because I have, of course, lots of thoughts about our president and the current political system. But with our type of work, as far as a nonprofit, they're very strategic about letting us know that because of your tax exempt status, you're not supposed to disparage any candidate or have any funds going toward any political campaign. So I'm very careful with how I address those things. But I do think I can say, and I will say that when you talk about the Black family and the Black experience, while I am taking an internal look at what we do and the part that we play and the things that we do that could damage us, I also offer solutions. I think we also have to be realistic that it's not just us that have played a part into some of the bad experiences that we have. But America historically has systemically oppressed Black families, and that's not a victim mentality. That's a realist mentality, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
If you actually look at history, you'll see that. So it's not that we're looking for a handout, but it's looking for amends to be made for damage that was done to the Black family. And I think, realistically speaking, this administration has not been helpful in moving us forward in terms of those issues. So as an advocate for the Black family, I have to be realistic about who and what is a hindrance and an oppressor.
But what's the feeling like in the city with the Black Lives Matter Plaza? Have you driven on that street yet? Have you seen it?
I haven't yet because I'm still, even though things are opening back up, I'm still socially distancing. I almost did this interview with a mask on, but then I realized it's okay. I don't have to wear a mask.
Trust me. I told the story on one of our other shows. Somebody was working in my house and I had a cough and they turned around like I had the plague. So trust me, I totally understand
Yeah.
the time where we should all still be staying safe. I mean, well, congratulations on everything that you're doing. I do agree with you. Like me and Charlamagne talk a lot about mental health when we're around each other. And, I've started my own journey and it's great to know that there are people out there doing the important work. And yeah, I mean, I would love to see you Damage go on the podcast and
no, absolutely. Let's definitely connect somehow. I want to come on the podcast and let's talk about it for real.
Sounds good. Definitely can make that happen. But just to answer your question, Jason, in the city, I do think I would say it's tense. It's tense because we got 45 and some radical Black people in the same proximity. So it's a little tense.
Well, shout out to your mayor. I love what she's doing. I know that there's a lot of back and forth in the news about her. I don't know her, but I think that I love that she did something. I mean, it's all about doing something. And well, listen, what final words do you want to leave people with? Where we'll show them where to contact you, but what do you want to leave them with?
Yeah, to let them know two things. I think with the George Floyd situation, Breonna Taylor and Ahmaud Arbery and so many others that haven't been given their shot or their spotlight in the media, I think something that I'm putting out there is when we want to remedy some of these issues, yeah, it's political, but also to support Black organizations that are serving the Black community. So in terms of the Whole Brother mission, we have a network of counselors nationwide prepared to service men for counseling and therapy, and we assist those that have financial need. But at the same time, we're not rolling in millions. So to sustain the work that we do, donations are important. So one, if you know a man that's in need of therapy, you can send them our way at whole, WHOLE, brothermission.com. But also, if you know someone that's interested in investing in the Black family and would like to support this kind of work, visit our website as well, because donations are what sustain what we do.
Cool. And you're a 501c3?
Yes, sir.
Well, good. Congratulations. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing that. And I think everybody should go there and check out the website and learn more about what he's doing. And then we'll be circling back to watch Damage when he goes on the podcast. But thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Have a good one. Stay safe.
Stay safe out there. Bye. There's also this whole thing about defunding the police going on. And Lil Wayne is taking a hit on his show. He said that, he's not going to blame all police after George Floyd's murder. Says that his life was saved by a white cop. And he said that his life was saved by a white cop when he shot himself at 12. And he said that my life was saved when I was young. He shot himself. My life was saved by a white cop, Uncle Bob. His real name is Deputy Robert Hubler. He says, so for now, therefore, you have to understand the way I view police, period. There's a bunch of black cops that jumped over me by that door with the hole in my chest. He refused to. The rapper does look at the other side and references the militarized police in his hometown, New Orleans. What do you think about defunding the police and all cops are bad cops?
We need to defund the police, period, because I just feel like it's all bullshit. The way people spend money in these organizations, I doubt the police is using all of this money for police tactics. So I don't mind that. But when they defund the police, it's really not that much money. So honestly, to me, it's almost like another spit in the face. It's like we're defunding the police by $100 million when they're giving billions of dollars into the police department.
Police department getting $6 billion.
So you taking away $100 billion. It's like, it's one of those, I don't know what they call it, but it's like that fake support that they give sometimes. It's like, okay, you defunded them $100 million when they're getting $6 billion. It's just kind of like bullshit. And it's like a spit in our face. It's like, what do they say when you pee on me and you want me to call it rain? All of that shit wrapped in one. So I don't give a fuck about the defunding the police.
Where they say that at R. Kelly house? I mean,
they say that they're like, don't piss on me and call it rain. That's what it is. It's like,
let me find out you've been pissed on, damage. I don't know.
I have not been pissed on. I have not been pissed on. But this is them trying to piss on me with this defunding the police shit. It's just a distraction. I don't give a fuck if you take away a few dollars from the police department. You need to change the police system. Until we start talking about changing the police system and how cops become cops, how cops after 10 years may have to stop being cops. Until you change the system, I don't give a fuck what you're doing. Taking money from it is not changing a thing. Talk to me about how you're changing the system of how people police.
Well, and if we're going to talk about defunding police, I need to know what the plan is, because I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not living in a community with no police. I do believe that
the police are still going to be there.
There are good police out there. I don't believe all cops are bad cops. I did talk to Black Lives Matter. I'm all supporting everything that they're doing, but I don't support the messaging that all cops are bad cops. I think it's a narrative that really gets young people fired up because, people are fuck 12, fuck the police. That's the easy thing to say. But when I got shot, police showed up and helped me. When brother got murdered, police showed up and got the woman who did that. So I don't believe that all cops are bad cops. But I do believe, though, if you're spending $6 billion of a budget in New York, and you don't have any of that really going towards community projects or education or anything like that, that's a problem. And that is a real problem that has to have a real solution.
And it's a problem for me where they got all this money into the police department, but then these body cams just never work, Jason. They have $6 billion, but everything we need from them, because we do pay them with our tax money, just conveniently doesn't work, or it's broken, or it's old.
No, you got it wrong. The cameras do work. They just don't work when they kill unarmed black men.
I'm just saying what I'm saying. So I don't give a fuck what you're doing with the budget. What are you going to do to change the system? I don't give a fuck about your budget. The budget has been
Can you stop
outlandish.
Because we're not getting paid content. You see, I'm not cussing as much because we can't cuss.
Oh, I'm sorry. I get riled up, man. You see, this stuff been up before the riots.
Don't apologize. Your blackness is showing up. Your rage is showing up. I'm glad Damage ain't giving a fuck today, because then I could give less fucks. I feel you. I feel you. But I'm glad that just like you're showing your real passion, I'm showing mine. I know people everywhere watching now are like, how can I help? And if you forget, please play the show back. Please send this show to all your friends. Send it to your white friends, but definitely send it to your black ass friends. And make sure that you're registered to vote. I will tell you, I am working on an initiative for the black vote. You will hear about it. I welcome you to be a part of it. Please don't let my antics get in the way. I'm going to do a better job of making sure that my messages are not clouded by my delivery. I can't guarantee I'm never going to piss you off, because that's why I was put on earth. But I was also put on earth to do the goodwill of the people. And I now feel like George Floyd's death can't go in vain as long as we continue to wake up and take our place in the world, in this fight, and in this conversation, and in the solution. Not in a conversation, not in a Facebook or Instagram post, not just in going out to march because it's the cool thing to do, but because you actually want to be able to walk in a room and be valued based on what you bring in the room and not what you look like when you get there. So I think we've done everything that we could today. Damage, I'm done. Are you done?
I'm done. I'm feeling good, man. And I'm glad we had these conversations. Yeah, I did get riled up. I'm sorry. It's just some of the stuff I be hearing. It's like,
don't apologize, Damage. I just want us to get paid to do it. Because YouTube and all these people, these platforms that we rely on, they fuck with your algorithm so less people see your shit. When you say George Floyd or COVID-19 or Donald Trump, less people see it. Y'all don't
and we're gonna have a bigger conversation about these advertising companies too. I think that's another thing we need to dive in and talk about as far as control, power, and our people. That's another conversation we need to have.
Well, on my new YouTube show, we have a segment called The Deep Dive. So yes, we will be diving deep into that bullshit.
Please.
We are working over here, but look, people, keep coming back. Make sure you text us. The number's been below the whole show. Tell us what you think. Keep being critical. Keep holding us accountable. And we love you, and we support you supporting us. And we love the fact that, like, through all of our ups and downs, man, y'all have been here from the beginning. And I love that no matter how big the platform gets, we are still looking in the comments. I'm still looking at all the shit you said about me, and I forgive you. Bye.
Peace.
What up, YouTube? Thank you for watching this reckless show.
Yeah, and hit that subscribe button, and don't forget to hit the notification bell.
And also don't forget to share and leave a comment, because we are reading.